How can you know that you can trust someone? You probably base your trust on that person's trustworthiness. And so you ask yourself, is this person faithful? Does this person keep his or her promises? Maybe you ask yourself, does the person care about me or love me? That's because trust is born out of genuine, self-sacrificing love. Let's apply those same questions to God now. Is God trustworthy? Yes, he is totally dependable. Is God faithful? In other words, does he keep his promises? Yes. 2 Corinthians says, for all of God's promises, find their yes in him. Does God care about you and love you? Yes. 1 John 4:8, God is love. Is God's love genuine and self-sacrificing? Yes. He sent his son to do what you and I could never do. And he took our sin, he took our punishment, and he took our shame so that we could experience God's acceptance, God's forgiveness, and God's restoration. So the question is, can you trust God? And the answer from God's word and the answer from God's living word, Jesus, is a resounding yes. God is absolutely and completely trustworthy because his love for us knows no bounds. In fact, God tells us that as high as the heavens are above the earth, so great is his love for those who fear him. Psalm 103:11. That means when trials come our way that leave us grieving and confused, we may not completely understand how a loving God could allow such difficulties and trials, but we still run to the arms of a loving Father because we can trust him. A phrase that I use often here at Grace and that I meditate on a lot is this, that in our suffering, we must learn to trust the heart of God even when we don't understand the will of God. Sometimes we're called to trust people in our lives that even when we don't completely understand them. After nearly 15 years of being married, I know my wife pretty well, but I can tell you honestly, there are things about her that I still don't know, and there are things about her that I simply don't understand. But I still trust her because I know she loves me and has committed her life to me. There are many things about God that I don't understand and can't fully comprehend. Why he allows suffering and trials is one of those things. The pain of suffering has impacted my life personally. And many of you know that as my story and the losses and the death that I've experienced of loved ones. And as a pastor, I've walked through really difficult seasons of trials with church members. There just never seems to be an adequate answer for the why question of suffering. Processing suffering is like standing on the edge of a cliff and I'm looking out and with my limited knowledge and my understanding, and I just can't understand it all, can't explain it all. And it's then when I find myself there that I realize the only thing I can do is fall back on what I do know. And what I do know is that God is love. What I do know is that God's love knows no bounds and that God's love drives out fear. I've seen God's faithfulness over and over again. And even when all else fails, I go back to the cross of Jesus and remember that God's love and faithfulness to me and to you were on full display. He showed us once and for all just how much he loves us. And it's then that I can conclude that God really does love me. That I can trust a God who, when I was at my worst, he gave me his best. What about you? Are you convinced today that God offers you a love that you can trust? Even when life doesn't make sense, even when you don't completely understand it, God has shown us a love that is worth trusting.